Hello, welcome to the live. So, what we're going to be doing today is we are going to listen to some meta mission. I'm trying to find the right angle so that I can play the meta mystery and still do my laundry. Yeah, this is a good angle. I'm gonna close it because the dog is there. I am going to be playing a meta mystery from my other phone. So if you come on the live, let me know where you're watching from. So the meta mystery that we will be listening to is from a show called Nightmare Nest Doll. Nightmare Nest Doll. Guys, the amount of killings that is out there is crazy. Okay, so we are watching Nightmare Next Door. We are on season 8, episode 6. I hope you guys
Recently
can.
separated Catherine Hauser is just starting a new life when her bright future meets a dark end.
Woman is brutally killed and sexually assaulted in a town where things like that don't happen. There's a fear that could happen to me.
Catherine's neighbors report a mystery man on the prowl.
He'd had a confrontation with another neighbor, made a threatening comment about coming back and killing somebody.
But is Catherine's killer a stranger or a friend turned foe?
I feel like there's a motive behind the murder that was related to Catherine's personal life.
When police come across a set of shoe prints, they're one step closer to catching a criminal who stayed one step ahead of the law.
Fits, and Catherine's killer was wearing them.
Crazy! That is crazy.
How well do you know
If you're watching, let me know if it's too loud or you can perfectly hear. Let me know.
The well-heeled crowd living in Albuquerque's Nob Hill neighborhood is hard to impress. But heads turn when newcomer Catherine Hauser rolls down Campus Drive in her cherry red convertible.
Catherine Hauser was a very accomplished woman, beautiful, outgoing. She was someone that if you spoke to her, you could feel like she could be your friend very easily because she was so gregarious and so charming.
Longtime resident Steve Finch is happy to have such a friendly new neighbor.
Catherine was a very nice person that I remember. I didn't talk to her a whole lot. She lived across the street and we'd say on occasion.
More than just a friendly face, the vivacious 52-year-old is a high-powered exec, enjoying the fruits of her labor. As Ken's co-worker, communications manager Augusta Myers recalls,
Karen was a very independent woman who'd really made it. I mean, she had a nice home in Nob Hill, a nice car, she had a good job at Intel. She seemed like she was right at the top of her game.
and Catherine's success gives her the power to call her own shots. So after 4 years in an unhappy marriage, Catherine calls it quits, finds a place of her own.
Catherine was at a point in her life where she wanted
ex-husband.
something different. The marriage wasn't working. She was the kind of woman that was going to take control of her own life.
There's still some unpacking to do, but after just a month in her new abode, she already feels right at home.
It's a very close community. The neighbors all know each other. People walk around a lot. There's a church across from my street. Everything's very close and tight-knit.
With her priorities in order, Catherine's future looks as bright as the New Mexico sun. But even the clearest of days can turn stormy with little warning.
If you're watching,
The morning
let me know if the sound is good and you can hear like everything that's being said. If not, I can increase the volume. So please let me know in the comment section, okay? If you can hear me, I'm gonna play again.
Wednesday, January 19th, 2005, starts out like any other in Nob Hill. It's 6:30, and folks on Catherine Hauser's block are just starting to stir, including Steve Finch, who lives across the street. He's in the middle of a mundane chore when something out of the ordinary breaks his routine.
That morning was trash day. I take the trash out to the curb before I leave for work. My trash can is way back in my driveway, and right when I was getting it, I heard a screaming noise.
Since nothing bad happens in Nob Hill, Steve doubts it's anything serious. Without second thought, he walks back into his house.
I didn't call someone when I heard the screams. I was trying to convince myself that it wasn't what I thought it was.
When you live in a community like Nob Hill, you can't fathom that it could take place. There's got to be a logical explanation why this would happen, because it can't be an attack.
Steve isn't the only one out and about that January morning. Another resident happens to be walking past Catherine Hauser's house, too. Hears the screaming.
His mind is telling him it can't be, and so he continues walking to work, but the longer he walks, the more he thinks about it. By the time he gets to work, he says, you know what, I should alert somebody because this isn't good.
Some screaming coming out of a neighbor's house. I don't know what's going on.
As soon as police are dispatched to Ken's house, they call Deputy District Attorney David Waymeyer to keep him on standby in case he's needed.
Anytime there's a suspicious circumstance, the main fit for having an assistant district attorney at the scene is that we have the knowledge firsthand of what they look like.
Until he knows for sure what went down on Campus Drive, Waymeyer counts on the police department as his eyes and ears. While he heads to the scene, first responders step through Ken's courtyard gate, sensing this probably won't have a good outcome.
The first two Albuquerque Police Department officers observed blood on the sidewalks, and then as they went into the courtyard, they observed a set of keys laying in what appeared to be a bloody brick laying on the ground.
Did something happen to Catherine right outside her front door? So, where is she? Police knock. No one answers. So the detectives peek inside the house.
As the officers walked around to the side of the house, they did observe looking through a window somebody's bare legs on the ground inside the house.
my God.
They were able to determine that a crime likely had just happened or was maybe perhaps even still happening.
With guns drawn and hearts pounding, the patrolmen prepare for the worst. Using the keys they found on the walkway, police enter the house.
Immediately upon opening the door, they observed additional blood smears that went up and over the threshold into the house, and then the body of Catherine Hauser was just inside the door in a blood pool.
Catherine lays motionless on the floor. her shirt and bra pulled up over her face and her pants tangled around her ankles. Looks like she was raped and beaten. Even though Catherine has a severe head injury, when police move closer, they see a glimmer of life.
The ambulance right away.
They could see she was still alive, so their first order of business was to tend to her and to get her help.
While Catherine is rushed to the hospital, investigators train their eyes on the crime scene
Aha.
and begin to dissect the anatomy of the attack.
Because
I'm not playing from my
Officers search and
television.
Catherine was beaten with the brick.
I'm playing from my phone, my other phone. So that is why you cannot see the television, but you can listen.
Found on the walkway. Since her keys were nearby, it's a good bet she jumped on the porch. Then
You can
traveled
only
inside.
see me.
The officer
You don't want to look at me? Black Vega. I'm playing from my phone and I'm just doing laundry. So I don't have TV in my bedroom, unfortunately.
that processed the scene noticed footprints. The perpetrator had actually backed up against the front of the house as if to ambush the victim when she walked out the front door.
But who's behind the brutal attack and why? When investigators can't find Catherine's purse or cell phone, they wonder if this was a robbery gone horribly wrong.
Actually, maybe I should put
Scanners
this
are
in
abuzz
the
with the
view.
news. Getting wind of the crime, local reporter Jolene Gutierrez can't help thinking Catherine's big-ticket items be what first drew the thief's attention.
Since Catherine was still in the process of moving in, one could extrapolate that if you're looking to help somebody and you're seeing someone carrying all these boxes of things, maybe you see stereo systems going in, maybe you see computers, maybe valuable items being trucked into the house.
Investigators put in a request for Catherine's bank and phone records. Maybe they'll shed some light on the case. But getting the logs will take some time. And while police don't rule out a botched burglary, they have a feeling it's a much more calculated crime.
This did not seem as if it was a robbery or burglary case because nothing else in the house was disturbed. Certainly, one of the possibilities was whether or not it was somebody that was obsessed with Ms. Hauser and that was targeting her for some other motive, such as
Thank
a sexual
you.
assault, and then merely trying to make it look like a theft by taking property on their way out.
If the detectives are hoping to get some answers from Catherine, sadly, she'll never have the chance to tell her story. 2 hours after she arrives in the ER, Catherine dies from her injuries. When the news hits home for her co-workers, they're shocked and saddened.
It's very hard for workers who are used to seeing somebody show up every day and do their job to suddenly go to work and see an empty desk and know that that person's never going to show up.
Let me see if I can show my
Neighbors are
phone.
struck as well. After all, this is the first time anyone has ever been murdered in Nob Hill.
Catherine Hauser's murder made everyone in Nob Hill acutely aware of their own vulnerability. That no matter how much money they had, no matter what kind of lifestyle they were living, they were vulnerable. No one felt safe.
Police are feeling pressure to solve the case. Good thing Catherine's family leads them straight to one promising suspect, Catherine's estranged husband, Jack.
They talked to family members and friends. They immediately learned that Hauser was separated from her husband and that she was seeking a divorce.
Investigators intend to find out why Catherine decided to call quits after only 4 years.
To the outside world, Catherine and Jack appeared to be a fine, upstanding couple. He was a church-going man. She was a church-going woman. But behind closed doors, clearly, the two of them had some serious issues.
For Catherine, moving on was easy. But was Jack having a hard time letting go?
I think this is good. And people can see, and I can also see people.
As the sun sets on Wednesday, January 19th, 2005, it's more than the winter chill that has Nob Hill residents shivering. Just as earlier, the newest member of this community, Catherine Hauser, was brutally murdered in her own home.
There was sorrow, fear, there was anger. I mean, a lot of emotions were going strong and heavy for a while.
And while locals are having a hard time coping with this crime, Deputy District Attorney David Waymeyer and police are already hot on the trail of their first lead.
With domestic situations, particularly where there is a divorce or a separation in progress, the initial suspicion is going to be on her spouse. Here, the fact that Ms. Hauser had specifically moved out of the house and was in fact estranged from her husband, that would then be even more of a red flag.
Given Catherine's lucrative income, investigators also have to wonder if money might have been a motive for murder. Former journalist Lisa Coryell has covered plenty of cases where love lost meant money gained.
Police had to explore the possibility that this was a murder for financial gain. They had to look at whether or not Jack stood to inherit her estate. They had to look at insurance policy. They had to look at every avenue that might cause a husband to kill his wife.
But before police can track down Jack, the course report comes in, affirming detectives' theories.
The autopsy confirmed that there was sexual assault that occurred and that DNA evidence was collected for possible later comparison. Certainly having DNA evidence at the crime scene is extremely helpful to be able to eliminate suspects or to point to the suspect.
Police were very encouraged by this because they believed it was left by her killer, and all they had to do was match, and they'd have the answer to who killed her.
The autopsy also reveals that once Catherine's killer raped her, he probably used the brick police found on the porch to silence her forever.
The autopsy also found that the cause of death was in fact the blunt force injuries to the left side of Catherine Hauser's head.
The overkill has investigators thinking they're on the right track after all.
When you hit somebody with a brick over and over again, it's usually an indication that you have a lot of rage toward that person, that you know them personally, and that they've done something that you believe deserves this kind of attack.
So detectives visit Catherine's estranged husband, Jack, at the local church where he works, just a few blocks from her house. When they break the news to him, he doesn't seem fazed by his wife's untimely death.
Typically, as you can imagine, a spouse would be pretty upset and pretty shocked and pretty stunned. Jack wasn't quite that way. He was very talkative, very cooperative, and very willing to say, look, I had nothing to do with that.
And that's not the only reason police are suspicious of Jack. He seems to know an awful lot about the crime.
One of the first things Jack said was, I did not rape or kill my wife. Police, in talking with him, never told Jack that Catherine had been sexually assaulted.
Anytime somebody has information has not been released, that raises red flags.
When investigators ask how Jack knows about the rape, he says he overheard detectives talking about it as they were walking into the church.
Jack, appearing to know that his wife had been attacked, that was the concern of homicide detectives. Did he know that because he had inside information from that? Or, as he indicated, did he know that because he had overheard that from officers?
Jack can see the suspicious looks coming his way, but he swears on the Bible he has an airtight alibi.
Jack indicated that he actually was at his house in northwest Albuquerque at the time of the killing with his mother, but investigators have to highly question the credibility of that kind of an alibi.
Just in case a cover-up is in play, detectives decide to keep digging. While Jack sits tight in the next room, investigators check in with his co-workers. And each one says he was acting very strange that morning.
He arrived at work very nervous and upset. When he was asked what's going on, he said, there's some trouble, but it'll be okay soon. No one quite knew what that meant or why he was so upset. Nobody knew that Catherine had been killed, although Jack was already acting nervous, scared, suspicious, even before that occurred.
Not sure who's telling the truth, detectives know DNA never lies, so they get a sample from Jack. Then,
If you're watching, who do you think killed the wife? I want to know. If you're watching, let me know in the comments who you think. Do you think the husband did it from what you've heard so far? Or do you think there's another suspect that is coming up? Let me know in the comments.
with Mom to ask if she had breakfast with him that morning. Not surprisingly, Mom vouches for her son, but investigators just can't take her at her word.
As prosecutors, we regularly see loved ones, whether it be spouses, mothers, that will lie to protect a loved one. And it's imperative that detectives and prosecutors scrutinize that very heavily.
While police wait for the DNA profile, they continue canvassing Catherine's neighbors, hoping someone remembers something from previous morning.
They knock on doors, they fan out, sometimes blocks away from where the actual murder occurred. And what they want to do is they want to find out if anybody has seen anything unusual, maybe somebody saw a suspect.
Neighbor Steve Finch doesn't recall seeing anyone who matches Jack's description, but he did see someone who made him do a double take.
I did notice a guy to the east on the other side of the street. He is a homeless guy. He is African American, and he was wearing multiple coats, kind of like a crummy ski jacket. And rarely do we see homeless people walking up and down our street. He seemed mentally imbalanced. I have a lot of questions about why he was even around there.
Homeless individuals can commit crimes out of desperation, either because they have no money and they need something as simple as a meal, or if it's a drug habit, and it can be as simple as trying to obtain property that can then be sold or traded for drugs.
News of this homeless man spreads like wildfire, and residents wonder if there's a killer on the loose.
It was quite scary. Neighbors wanted to know what was going on. Was there a serial killer in the area? Was there something else going on that they didn't know about? Here, this nice woman who lived on their block had turned up dead.
Is a madman stalking the streets of Nob Hill, looking for his next victim? And if so, how long until he strikes again? It's been 3 days since Catherine Hauser's murder, and nervous Nob Hill residents are looking over their shoulders and locking their doors.
When someone is killed, there's a fear that if that could happen to her, that could happen to me, that could happen to my neighbor. We need to know who did that. It was like Nob Hill had a boogeyman, but he wasn't just coming out at night. He was coming out during the day, too.
Neighbors Finch may have already spotted the very man who has residents so worried. A transient rushing down Catherine Street the very morning of her murder.
Usually in the morning, it's cold, it's in the winter time, below freezing. People aren't moving very fast. But this guy was going somewhere, so that's what made the difference to me.
Police need to find the homeless man. A task that's easier said than done. While the vagrant stood out in Catherine's neighborhood, by now he could be at any street corner or shelter in the city.
At the time of the murder, there were approximately 3,000 homeless people in Albuquerque, and police are looking at 3,000 possible suspects. Weeding through those suspects is not going to be an easy task.
Police hope teamwork will improve their odds of finding the homeless man Catherine's neighbors saw the morning of her murder.
The police follow up with the officers that worked that area of the city to see if those officers had frequent contact with somebody that matched that description. There are also several homeless shelters or soup kitchens in the general area where police will be able to contact those individuals.
As police kick up their search, they realize that one shelter has an unlikely connection to Catherine. It's right in her neighborhood. She may have even volunteered there.
Catherine Hauser was a church-going woman. She was involved in her community. She was a giving person.
Investigators wonder if someone at the shelter ever spotted Catherine lending a helping hand, or if something more sinister is at play. It doesn't look like investigators will solve this mystery anytime soon.
They just weren't getting much information from the homeless community. The police are pretty much the bane of the existence of the homeless people.
Police get the cold shoulder just about where they go.
A person is telling you to move along and suddenly comes to you and says, "Can you help me do my job?" Chances are you're not going to get much cooperation. It's your turn to move along.
After visiting all of the city's shelters, police have no luck getting a name for the homeless man seen the morning of Catherine's murder.
It's frustrating for the police to get leads that they try to track down, but there's not enough information to positively identify who the person is.
Especially in a case where a woman like Catherine, who was well-liked and respected, is randomly killed. People do want to know, why did this happen? What was the reason this happened?
But as word makes its way around the PD, detectives begin to wonder if the monster who raped and killed Catherine is someone they've been tracking for quite a while. A serial rapist prowling the area for a decade now. In fact, it seems he attacked some women in Nob Hill just a few months before Catherine's murder.
Albuquerque, for years, had an unsolved serial rapist that was known to start off